Welcome all once again, and let's start with our next topic, that is the next algorithm in the series of process management chapter. In the last video lecture, we have already seen the first algorithm, that is FCFS algorithm, first come first serve algorithm. Today we are going to study the next algorithm, that is shortest job first algorithm. We are going to see shortest job first, or it is also called as SJF algorithm. This algorithm is also famous as shortest remaining time first, or SRTF algorithm. So you may call it SJF, you may call it SRTF, it is one and the same. So how this algorithm works? This algorithm will select a process which is having minimum time of execution. If we consider three processes, process P1, P2, P3, and suppose P1 is having P1 needs 3 units, P2 needs 1 unit, and P3 needs 4 units, then obviously P2 will be taken up for execution first, then P1 will be taken up for execution, and then P4 will be taken up for execution. So being the smallest process that requires the minimum time for execution, P2 is chosen first. Then once P2 is over, P1 and P3 remains. Out of P1 and P3 needs lesser time in comparison with P1 needs lesser time in comparison with P3. So P1 is taken up for execution, and once P1 is done, P3 will be taken up for execution. This way, a process with minimum execution time, it is also called as burst time. Time required for execution of a process is also called as burst time. So process with minimum burst is always taken up for execution, and that is how your shortest job first, or SRTF algorithm, works. It's actually, that is the meaning of this word, shortest job first algorithm. Let us try to solve one example very quickly and see how actually it functions. So let's draw a table with some details regarding the process. So let us consider 5 processes. So process P1, P2, P3, P4 and P5. Okay. The arrival time of this process is given as whereas the burst time for this process is given as so this is going to be the arrival time, this is going to be the burst time, and now we have to compute completion time. And how to compute the completion time? We have to draw the Gantt chart. So let's draw a Gantt chart and try to find out, okay, the completion time for each process. So now we will have a completion time here, and let's draw a Gantt chart. To begin with, we should first know that SJF algorithm can be solved using 2 different methods. First is the preemptive method, and the second is the non-preemptive method. Now what is preemptive method? Suppose there is one process already executing in CPU. Suppose P1 process is executing in CPU. Okay. And P2 process arrives in a ready queue. P1 is already executing in CPU, P2 process arrives in a ready queue. And suppose the priority of P2 process is higher than priority of P1 process, which is currently executing in CPU. What CPU does is, CPU will stop the execution of process P1, which is having lower priority. This P1 will be swapped out and P2 process will be taken up for execution. So now what CPU has done? CPU has preempted process P1, forcibly stopped the execution of process P1. So CPU can behave either in preemption way or either using non-preemption way. So one more method of executing is, once P1 is in CPU, P1 is executing under CPU, P2 arrives, P2 is having higher priority, but still P1 will take up P2 for execution only when P1 finishes execution of P1. So preemption is when CPU will stop execution of current process since it is having lower priority and take up the higher priority process for execution. And non-preemption is the method where CPU will completely execute the process which is currently there in CPU, and then only we will take up the next higher priority process for execution. Once process is submitted to CPU, CPU will completely execute it. So where there is no preemption happening, it is a non-preemptive method. So now when we are solving this example, we are supposed to know whether we need to solve it using preemptive or non-preemptive method. So let's try first the easier method. Let's try to solve this example using non-preemptive method. So we already have 5 processes. Arrival time is given, the burst time is given. Arrival time is when the process arrives, burst time is the time required for process to completely execute. And now we have to compute a completion time. And how we can find out completion time? We have to draw the Gantt chart. And we are going to solve this using non-preemptive method. So let's start drawing the Gantt chart so that we get a completion time. So if we go through this arrival time sequence, we can see at 0th unit only process P4 has arrived. So since there is only one process, there is no question of selection of other processes and we have to go with P4 process execution. So we'll start with P4. So we'll start with process P4. Since it is a non-preemptive method, once P4 is taken up, P4 will finish the execution. Once the P4 is taken up for execution, P4 will finish the execution. So P4 requires how much time? 3 units. So at unit 3, third instance of the time, process P4 completely executes. So P4 is gone out of the memory. So by the time this 3 unit of time is elapsed, you can see here, process P3, process P1 is arrived, because still process P5 to arrive till process P2 is to arrive, because their arrival time is greater than 3. So now the competition is between 3 and process P3 and process P1. The burst of P1 is however 2 and the burst of P3 is the burst of P1 is 6 and the burst of P3 is 8. So P1 is having lower burst, lesser time requirement for execution. So obviously P1 is taken for execution after that. So once P1 goes into CPU, P1 will completely execute. So 6 plus 3, 9. So P1 is also gone out of the memory. So during the 9th unit of time, we can see everybody has arrived. Now P1 is over, P4 is over, P2 is there, P3 is there, P5 is there, and we have to compare the burst of all three processes now. So it is comparison of 4 with comparison of 8 with comparison of 2. Now obviously P2 is the choice. P2 requires minimum time to execute out of the given three processes. So P2 is the choice. So next execution is P2 execution. What is the burst that P2 requires? 2. So 9 plus 2, 11. P2 is out of memory now. Remaining is P3 and P5. Obviously P5 is a choice. You compare 8 with 4. 4 is lesser. So P5 is the choice. So P5 is taken up for execution. So by the time P5 executes, what is the execution of burst of P5 is 4. So 15th unit P5 completes, and obviously P5 goes out of the memory. Only one process remains, that is P3. P3 needs 8 unit burst time. So 15 plus 8, obviously it is 23, and there comes to an end of process execution. All the processes are executed. So finally P3 executes. So P3 also goes out of the memory. So in this way, using non-primitive method, we have computed, okay, we have drawn a Gantt chart, and now why we have drawn this Gantt chart? Because we want to find out the completion time. So look at the processes. When process P1 has finished execution, 9th unit, it's very straightforward. So I draw it as 9. So process P2 has finished at 11th unit. Process P3 has finished at 23rd unit. Process P4 has finished at 3rd unit, and process P5 has finished at 15th unit. So now we do have the completion time with us. So completion time is available. So we don't require this Gantt chart now. See, remember everybody, first thing you have to calculate a completion time, and to calculate the completion time we need to draw a Gantt chart. The moment you draw a Gantt chart successfully, you will get 2 marks. So bifurcation is 2 marks, 3 marks plus 3 marks. So for calculation of turnaround time 3 marks, for calculation of waiting time 3 marks, and to draw the Gantt chart in the initial first stage, you will get 2 marks. So 3 plus 3 plus 2 is 8 marks. So if at all the question comes for 10 marks also, maximum you can do is you can explain the method that you are using simple 2-3 points. That's it. So now we are ready with the completion time. Let's go ahead. What is the aim? Why we are doing all this? Because we need to compute turnaround time and waiting time. So now here we will compute turnaround time. Then we are going to compute waiting time. How to compute turnaround time? Well, so now since we do have a completion time, it is very simple. Completion time minus arrival time. So it is 9 minus 2, 7. 11 minus 5, 6. 23 minus 1, 22. 3 minus 0, 3. 15 minus 4, 11. We are done with calculation of turnaround time. It is just that simple. So now when turnaround time is ready, okay, how to calculate the waiting time? Again it is very easy. Now see here, subtract turnaround time from burst time. 7 minus 6, 1. 6 minus 2, 4. 22 minus 8, 14. 3 minus 3, 0. 11 minus 4, 7. So step number 1, we have calculated completion time, and calculation of completion time is found out after drawing the Gantt chart. And Gantt chart is drawn as per the method of HGF algorithm that we have used. So here we are following non-preemptive method. So we have already drawn a Gantt chart, we have found out a completion time, and once completion time is available, we quickly go to calculate turnaround time and waiting time. And now it's just a formality. You have to add these values, 7 plus 6 plus 22 plus 3 plus 11 divided by 5. That will give you the total turnaround time, the average turnaround time. So how much it comes out to be? So it comes out to be so 49 divided by 5, so it is 9.8 units. And average waiting time, how to calculate? Again same, 1 plus 4 plus 14 plus 0 plus 7 divided by 5. Again how much it comes out to be? 15, 19 plus 7. How much it is? 26 divided by 5. This is 5.2 unit. So 2 marks for Gantt chart plus 3 marks for turnaround time calculation plus 3 marks for waiting time calculation, and that is how finally you end up scoring 8 marks. Now let's try to study same example. Let's try to solve this example using preemptive method very quickly. So we do have these statistics with us. And now arrival time 25104 and the burst time 6 to 8. So we need to calculate the completion time, and to calculate completion time we need to solve the Gantt chart. Let's draw the Gantt chart. Okay. So now preemptive method. So what we know about the preemptive method? The moment higher priority process comes, we have to preempt the lower priority process. So now let's begin. Just see how it works. At 0 time there is no other choice. We have to select process 4. By the time process 4 executes from 0 second to 1 second, okay, we can see P3 arrives. What is the burst of P3? 8. So P4 will continue. By the time P4 executes for 1 more second, 2 seconds, you can see P1 arrives. What is the burst of P1? 6. The burst is higher, no problem. We can continue with P4. By the time P4 executes for the 3rd second, P4 finishes the execution. So P4 has got no problem. P4 can completely execute. So during 3rd unit of time, okay, we'll say 3rd unit of time, process P1 and process P3 both are arrived. Process P5 arrives at the 4th second, but we have not reached at that stage yet. So now the comparison between P1 and P3, who will win the bid? One which is having minimum burst. So who is having minimum burst? P1 is having minimum burst. So P1 is taken up for execution. How long P1 will execute? P1 will execute from 3 second to 4 second, 3 unit to 4 unit. And in the 4th unit we can see here 6 minus 1. So 6 minus 1 is equal to 5. So P1 needs 5 more units to completely execute. But in the 4th unit you can see P5 also arrived. Now since P5 has arrived, P5 is in competition with P1 because see every time we are trying to calculate the burst. So 5 is compared with 4 and obviously 4 is lower. So we can't continue with execution of P1. P1 is again preempted and P5 is coming into picture. So who is thrown out? P1 is thrown out, P5 is taken into execution. So the burst of P1 becomes 5 and P1 is thrown out and now P4 has started P5 has started executing. Now once it reaches the 5th second, see the fun. P4 has started executing 4th unit of time. So in the 5th unit of time you can see P2 also arrived and the burst of P2 is 2. If I say 4 minus 1, it is 3, and now if I compare 3 with 8, with 2 and 5, P2 is having the lowest burst. So now P5 is again thrown out, P2 is taken up for execution. Now everybody has arrived. There is no question of P4. P4 is already executed. So now P1 is arrived, P2 is arrived, P3 is arrived, P5 is also there. No other process is to arrive. So now the competition is among these people. So now here, when I compare with 5, with 2, with 8 and 3, 2 is the minimum. P2 will completely execute. So this is like, this is 4, this is again 5 and 5 plus 2, 7. P2 is out of memory now. P2 is out of memory. Now comparison of 5 with 8 with 3. Obviously P5 is taken up for execution. So P5 will need burst of 3, 7 plus 3, 10. So P5 is completely executed, going out of memory. The competition is between P1 and P3. Now P1 is having minimum burst. Again 7 plus 5, 15. So P1 is completely executed. P1 is out of memory. Remaining is P3 and 15 plus 8. It will need 23 units of time for completely executing. So now we do have a Gantt chart with us, and looking at a Gantt chart we can find out the completion time. So P1 is completely executed at what time? P1 is completely executed, okay, at 15th unit. So obviously 15th. P2 has completely executed at 7th unit. P3 has completely executed at 23rd unit. P4 has completely executed at 3rd unit. P5 has completely executed at 10th unit. So 15, 7, 23, 3 and 10. We are done with the calculation of completion time. And now remaining calculation of two important attributes, turnaround time and waiting time, can be easily computed as we have seen in the previous method, in the non-primitive method. So let's calculate turnaround time and the waiting time. So now turnaround time, as we know how to compute turnaround time. So 15 minus 2, 13, 7 minus 5, 2, 23 minus 1, 22, 3 minus 0, 3, 10 minus 4, 6. Just as simple as that. And calculation of waiting time. So as we have seen in the last method, so what is turnaround time? 13. What is the burst that is required? So similarly here, turnaround time, what is the burst required? So 13 minus 5, 8, 2 minus 2, 0, 22 minus 8, 14, 3 minus 3, 0, 6 minus 3, obviously 3. So now, we are done with calculation of turnaround time, we are done with calculation of waiting time. Similarly, the final step is to find the average of turnaround time. So 13 plus 2 plus 22 plus 3 plus 6 divided by 5 processes. So turnaround time, average turnaround time, and now average waiting time. Similarly, 8 plus 0 plus 14 plus 0 plus 3 divided by 5, and accordingly we can compute. We can compute. So how much it comes out to be? We can calculate this as 15 46 divided by 5, it is 9.2, and here 25 divided by 5 is 5 unit. So this is the final solution. So you have drawn a Gantt chart, 2 marks, you have computed turnaround time and average turnaround time, you have computed waiting time and average waiting time, you get additional 3 plus 3, 6 marks, and that is how you can score 8 marks. 8 marks in your pocket. That is all about the HCF algorithm. We will see one more algorithm in next lecture. Till then, thank you and goodbye.